give it a moment to catch up on my side, just so I can make sure I can see everybody. Everyone can see us. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Rat in a Cage. I am your host. Welcome to episode 3 of Rat in a Cage, sponsored by Homegast and written by Transient Presents. I'm your host, Transient, also known as Samantha, and joining me today, as always, is my co-host, Marlo. You can find her at Twitter at Marlo Bogwitch, that's with 2 G's like Snoop Dogg. And also joining us tonight is Nico, one of our favorite cast members here. You can find them at Twitter at Satan Solarist. I'll let them do their plugs here in a moment, but for quick reference, if you forget those plugs, if you look down below in our About section, you'll see a picture of me wearing a mask. If you click that picture, it'll take you to my Twitter, and it also has the schedule for this show underneath it. In the center, you'll find a poster for Beyond the Nightmare, which is our lovely Marlo's show. If you click that, it'll take it to you to her Twitter. And last is up is our Patreon, as Nico doesn't have their own show yet, but maybe we'll have a little link up there soon for them. So for quick references outside of that, we'll start with Marlo. How are you? Where can people find you tonight?
Excuse me, I had to burp. Thank you. Like Sam said, you can find me on Twitter. I am sometimey there. I'm kind of transitioning my way back in. You know how it goes. You delete the app off your phone and then suddenly it's like difficult to get into those things because then you have to go sit at a computer and do all of that. But it's better for mental health. So if you need a break from social media, you should do it too. I swear it's been better on me in any case. You can find me there. Like Sam said, I'm here on Fridays. I'll be here tomorrow and we'll be talking about a movie. We need to figure out what movie because I think we decided we weren't going to do The Night Stalker because evidently it was released on AMC, and you can buy it or rent it on. You can buy it on like Amazon or you can rent it on Vudu. And I don't have Vudu, so I'm gonna have to get Vudu to watch it. We'll figure that out later, Sam. We'll talk about it later. No,
I'm going to the video store tonight, so I'll just pick something random and be like, "This is what we're watching."
Okay, that'll work.
Off the old shelf. I'll make sure it's on like Prime Video or something.
Video store? Do you have a Blockbuster?
We have this family video. Yeah, I rented Luigi's Mansion 3. I always want to say Ouija, but I rented Luigi's Mansion 3, and it's due back today. So
wouldn't rent a Ouija board. That sounds like a bad call.
Those were terrible movies. Yeah, the last Family Dollar closed here locally about a year ago.
So, yes, I'm doing that every other Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. I'm on Featherfall playing a 5e game called The Gateway Wars. I play a weird bard on there, so that's a thing. Also, I'm in a podcast. It's called Sins of the Father. We put out some good content. We're funny and we're weird and we make off-color jokes, but somehow we play children in a show. Don't let your children listen to this show about children. Don't do it. Don't let them listen to it. But it's great. We have a lot of fun. I play a bard there too. I don't know why I've been playing bards lately. Just happened. I found a cool college for one of them and then it just happened with the other one. So anyway, that's it for me. I've talked too much.
Also, don't let your kids watch this show. I should say that.
No.
They might end up really bad people. Really cool people, but really bad people.
With a deep and abiding hatred of hands.
Exactly. Go ahead, Nico. How are you? Where can people find you?
I'm here, doing well. Household is, again, verified COVID-free as far as we can tell. There was some question of that earlier this week, but yay, everybody's okay. Yeah, I'm mostly here. I'm still getting back into this whole being a part of the world thing. But yeah, hopefully have a Undying or Blades in the Dark game coming up. But yeah, I'm here. Satan Solarist on Twitter has my link to my blog where my writing is. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to get employed. So there's things like that going out, and there's some possibly really awesome opportunities happening that I sent out for. So here's hoping. Happy Hanukkah, everybody.
For sure. Hopefully we can announce something good with that in the near future. Marlo and I also have some good cult related news that I don't know if we're able to talk about. So we'll just leave it at that. Outside of that, I hope everyone is prepared for tonight's show. And by everyone, I mean Marlo and Nico, as you'll be fighting your first boss, your first real boss. I think it's the first time in a whole season we're going to use the actual combat system as it's meant to be used. Because here is the boss's stats. It's the whole page, Marlo. It's the whole page. It's abilities and attributes and attack stats. So it's going to be a good time. First, we'll do our standard equipment check, starting with Audrey. What equipment do you have going into tonight's survival?
So I found this list today. As an aside, before I tell you all this, I found this list today and I realized it was a list of a bunch of weaponry and like supplies. And I was like, I should label this so someone doesn't find this in my like inevitable death or something like that. And just be like, oh, Marlo was obviously planning something awful. No, this is my list of items.
Now it's labeled with cult, so I don't know if that helps.
No, it does not. So I have a crowbar, taser, handcuffs, latex gloves, a radio, a Glock, and 2 full mags, 2 incendiary grenades, 1 flashbang grenade, bottled water, alcohol, riot gear, 1 frag grenade, and a key.
You are kitted out for sure. I need to stop giving so much item.
No, please.
You said you had the riot gear?
Yes.
All right, Spider, what do you got?
All right, I have a shiv, a modified shiv, a silver blade wrapped as a shiv, a headlamp, an AR-15 with 1 mag, carrying currently 58 rounds, of a 556 NATO, a 9mm with 17 rounds plus 1 with plus 1 mag, a med kit, salamander skin, poncho, leg armor, walkie-talkie, 1 flashbang, 1 incendiary, a couple of pairs of handcuffs, and we've got the Browning 50 cal on 26.
Oh yeah, and you're engaging. What floor are we engaging the Watcher on? Was
30.
Confirmed. Okay, I think we are good to go.
Hopefully not the whole time.
Hopefully not. Since the names for your 2 new allies on Silver Team were so kind of iffy, since I made them up on the spot last time, as they weren't named, their names are going to be Roddy, like Spider called one of them last time. So the mask appearing one is going to be named Roddy, Rotti, and the femme appearing one is going to be named Jean, Jean. When we last left off, our gold team survivor, well, when we last left off to begin with, Audrey decided not to listen to the inner voice which had guided her for so long, and in exchange, something else gave her a gift to replace her missing left arm. This gift has helped them several times, though it could not prevent the death of Firebug, who was eliminated by the warden in order to adjust the teams and make things a little more sporting. Gold Team was informed they had now been joined with Silver Team and renamed themselves the Dream Team. They were able to locate, on their way to locate Silver Team, they came across a creature known as the Watcher, who seemed quite formidable. After their encounter with it, which culminated in hiding for the most part, they found a strange portal hidden behind a false wall. And after meeting up with Silver Team and discussing said portal, it was decided they would eliminate the Watcher who carries the key for said portal and make their way out through it rather than the main door on the 4th floor. To do so, Roddy and Jean led Gold Team, now the Dream Team, up to the 30th floor. And where we left off, they were ready to enter. And so joining them now, Roddy and Jean make entry into the first hallway and quickly clear it with the practiced sense of someone who's either trained or, as they've stated before, people who've had to live here for several months. They called you that the hallway is clear as they end up on an armored door at the other end. Jean stacks to the left of it, while Roddy waits for the two of you to catch up and then addresses you both. This door will only open by using the control tower. One of us will have to go up there. I'm willing to do it if both of you want to help Jean and try to eliminate the Watcher, but it's going to be a hard fight, and whoever's up there in control won't be able to help other than to keep that door locked. If that's okay with both of you.
Seems like the best call.
I mean, are you a better powerhouse down here to fight the thing?
I've never had to engage the Watcher before. I couldn't say who would be best to face it. You seem pretty well equipped yourself. Besides, missing arm.
Yeah, that's a little bit of gonna be a little bit of an issue here, but I think it'll be okay. I'll be all right.
He'll consider it for a moment, and why don't you kind of roll to influence other for me?
I'm good at that. Oh yeah. 14.
Definitely good at that. He'll look you up and down for a moment and then kind of shrug his shoulders and hand you one of his frag grenades, putting you at 2 frags total. I'll stay down here. You're probably right. When it comes down to it, you'd be better up there. If anything goes wrong, use those grenades to destroy the stairwell. There's an emergency hatch to get out to the top of the control tower. You can get down that hall behind you. They'll point to a hallway over your shoulder where there's an emergency stairwell that says Control Tower B over the top of it. You're on radio frequency 31 Delta. If you can sync up with us and let us know when you're about to open the door, I think we can get prepped down here.
Yeah. I pull out my radio and sync up. And then do a quick test to make sure it's working before trekking up the stairs.
It squelches through. It definitely seems to be working for now.
I wish I could make a noise like that, like the guy in Police Academy. Yeah, just.
We'll stop here for a moment. Spider, if you want to roll for your 6th sense.
Literally uno.
What does 1 give you on 6th sense?
It gives you a move to make at some point during the session.
All right. I have lots of moves set up for the old Watcher here in his environment. So you just gotta throw those ones out.
Basically.
Okay, so I will give you a planning phase here. You can discuss with Roddy and Jean and each other, figure out what you want to do. You can open the window slot on the door to see inside. It slides open. So you should be able to see in if you so choose, but be aware that things can see that window slot open as well.
So you say the window slot on the door into where we know we need to go to fight this thing, or is that the window slot from the tower?
It is the window slot for the door where you know the Watcher is behind.
Okay.
Basically, Roddy and Jean led you all tracked the Watcher through these hallways to this pod, and this is the door to go into the pod.
So the upper level is the upper level cells, and then lower level cells.
Okay.
Correct. So for those listening, I gave them kind of a basic map yesterday to prep themselves and know what a pod looks like. For those of you who've never been inside of a prison or a jail before, most pods are set up to be a large open room with cells along the outer walls. They have solid metal doors with feed-hole window slot that's most of the time open, if it's not a closable one. There's then a catwalk above, which has another row of cells that line the walls. Down in the center of the pod, in the big open space, there's usually several tables for just kind of community time when they get to be out of their cells. In this particular pod, a large grating can be seen even through that window slot that takes up most of the center of that open space. Most of the tables are also missing, leaving only 4 tables total in the lower area, not including the desk, which takes up a large portion of the opposite wall from where you two would enter from.
So let's see about cracking this window and see if we can get some idea where the hell that thing is in there.
Nico, if you want to be the one to crack it open, roll to observe a situation. Audrey, is there anything you'd like to be doing while Spider pops this window open?
It's going to be a 21.
Very nice.
So Audrey's gonna look at all of them and say, so once I get up there to the little tower thing and I open the door, I stay up there? I mean, do I drop bombs from up there? I don't know.
You're just gonna have to stay up there and try your best to control the door and any of the cell doors that come unlocked. I don't know what's in there, but we lost a previous team member last time we entered a pod because there was things inside the cells we weren't accounting for.
There's things other than the Watcher that... Cool. So what do we need to do to get the Watcher out of here? Any ideas? Because that seems like a bad idea.
Jean will kind of adjust her rifle. I don't know that there's a way to get it out. This is the main entry point, and once it sees us come in, it's probably going to be quite upset. There's also no guarantee that there is anything else in the cells. Like I said, it's only happened once or twice, and this is a ever-growing place, it seems.
Right, but I think if it's a possibility, we kind of have to assume that it's happening until proven otherwise.
Ever growing? What do you mean by that?
Hold on, y'all. I dropped my dice and it's going to drive me crazy until I pick it up. Okay. She'll kind of turn her blank-faced motorcycle helmet to look at you in your direction anyways. When I got here, there was only 20 floors. And then when Roddy came on, there was the 32 floors. And now I think we're up to what, 40? Every new team that comes in, it seems to expand in some way, sometimes up, other times additional rooms seem to form.
To keep the past folk on their toes, I guess?
It's not clear. I know it definitely ends up being more like a labyrinth in the end. But for now, this is the best layout that we have. And we've been doing our best to make a map of it. She'll kind of reach into her vest and pull out a rolled up piece of paper. There seems to be several different types of paper molded together over time that they've come across and then drawn on. If we get out of this, I guess we can share that information. But for now, why don't we just see if we can get through this?
Okay. Do you have any knowledge of what those controls look like up there? Are they obvious?
The tower, at least, should be simple. It'll be a basic computer, and then a software should already be running telling you which doors control what, with cameras labeled and facing those doors. Just find the one that matches the label here, and you should be able to hit the button to unlock it. Once it's unlocked, it'll stay unlocked until it closes and you relock it though. So just make sure to try and close it behind us. Once you're in the tower, it might be best to stay up there just in case we need back out. And there's always the chance that something will try and get up there. You don't want to be roaming the hallways without the rest of us, I don't think.
Okay. So barricade myself in.
She'll kind of shrug a little bit. That may work.
Worth a shot. I'll head up. Best of luck.
You too. Spider, as you pop open the glass or the window slide, you see that the room is at least somewhat lit. At first it's intermittently, and then you realize what's going on, so that there are two drones, much like the one that follows you, circling the pod inside, providing the light with two large spotlights beneath them. Eventually, one of these scans over the door, but doesn't seem to notice you. You can ask 2 questions about the situation to get more information. You're muted.
What seems strange about this?
It seems strange almost immediately that there are drones in there, but no visible teams within the pod room. Up until now, every encounter with the drone has been along with teammates, along with them, either deceased or like with Silver Team and your other drone now with you, aiding to keep others alive. Besides that, the large grate in the center is also strange. You have spent quite a bit of time in prisons, and you've never seen something like that in a pod before. The metal of it seems rusted, and the edges of the grating seem almost jagged, as though they would cut through any flesh or leather that slides over it quite easily. You may ask another question.
What can I use to my advantage?
Looking deeper into the room, you see that there appears to be a dead tactical officer on the other side, slumped against one of the corners. Though strangely, it seems that there's a gap between the leaning shoulder and the wall itself of about 4 feet, as though it is leaning on something that you cannot see. Strapped across the front of the officer's chest is an automatic shotgun and several shells that are spilled out on the ground trying to be reloaded before whatever killed it happened to. When you act on either one of these learned knowledges, you'll gain +1 to all of your rolls for the rest of the encounter.
Okay, I'm gonna close slowly, quietly, the shutter and relay what I saw and what I'm figuring to Roddy and Jean.
They'll kind of nod their heads in acknowledgement and stack up on the door. Roddy will place his shoulder against the wall on the left side of the door, so it'll be the first one in when the door opens, while Jean positions herself on the other door to be the one to actually open it and enter last. Once they're in position, Jean will radio to Audrey, informing her of the information passed on by Spider. Audrey, this information comes to you just as you pass into the tower stairwell, and the door closes and latches behind you as it seems to lock from this side. The stairwell is dimly lit, but very narrow, not much wider than your shoulder span, so it's almost claustrophobic if Audrey was one to suffer from that. As she goes up, it will seem that the flights are far more than expected, and you rise to at least a 4th story to look down into this pod. As you come to another room into the control tower itself, you are in a oblong or a octagon-shaped room with a domed roof, domed ceiling. Along the bottom of this are tinted glass panels that allow you to see into the pods below. Directly into the one by the computer panel, which takes up a large chunk of the room, you can see the pod where they are set up to enter now. You can see the drones circling, but their light isn't enough to actually see the watcher or what is waiting within. Sitting in the desk chair is a guard slumped forward. They do not seem aware of you if they're even alive, as their back is to you at the moment. The control panel, as described, is up on the computer screen.
I am going to evaluate the guard to see if they're alive first, because they're a potential threat.
They're very obviously dead when you approach them. It seems that their head has been severed quite severely, though it's still attached, surprisingly, by the skin at the front of their neck, as whatever wounded them came from behind to make the wound. A little closer inspection shows the weapon still there, pinning that last bit of flesh and head down into the desk as some kind of crescent-shaped blade made of the same silver that the shiv was.
I'm gonna take that weapon. That sounds like a good weapon. And then I'm going to nonchalantly push them out of the chair and take a seat and start looking over this control panel.
They all slump and fall over, leaving the chair empty, but a lot of gore to sit into as you look at the computer before you. Holding the blade that you have picked up, will you roll to see through the illusion for me as you begin investigating the computer?
It's a 8.
Moving the blade closer to your arm as you naturally sit down to your left arm, it'll begin to be revealed the strange new appendage that has been attached where your old limb was. You can see the twisted rust of the metal and the way that it bites into old bone, almost as though being revealed by a flashlight beneath the gleam of the blade. While this is happening, there's a shift from the guard on the floor, and though it does not writhe, it seems to jerk suddenly as though in a seizing state, and the emergency button on its radio begins to go off. In return, The control system's alarm system begins to go off, and all the cell doors are popped within the pod below.
Oh no.
There is no movement, but the drone's light changes from a solid stream to a rapid strobe. The strobe is too much to see what is happening within the pod.
I'm going to try to shut those immediately.
What's the best rule for that? You do your best to act under pressure. Spider. Down below, Roddy curses as the alarm system begins to go off around you, and you can hear the sound of several doors unlocking at once behind the wall that you're stacked against. Beneath the door and through the sides where the tiny bits of light can be seen, you begin to see the strobing of lights going off and hear the slow groan of the watcher on the other side. Audrey.
I rolled a 12.
Spider, what was your reaction?
I'd say now is a good time to get in there while it's, less likely to hear us.
Roddy nods as Jean grabs hold of the door handle. Audrey. The system in its alarm state is a bit hard to get a grasp of, and as you begin clicking through what you believe to be the right path, the alarm does indeed stop sounding, and the doors say that they relock, but several of them appear to be jammed and give you alerts on them as well. The strobing of the drones continue, and the pod door malfunctions, releasing the lock just as Jean pulls, opening the door, allowing Roddy and Spider to enter as she follows.
I click on the radio right quick and say, some of the doors didn't shut. I'm going to look to try to find a light source because I think you're at a disadvantage without the light.
Roll plus coolness.
Help me. Oh, not too bad. 8.
Spider, you overhear the advisement over the radio, but as it comes through, it also has a cutting static that echoes out through the pod you're in, and this brings the focus of the drones, at least one of them, to begin strobing the two of you as you enter the room. Though it severely blinds you, you manage to enter and feel the press of Jean moving behind you and closing the door. You do your best to act under pressure and find the correct path along the wall.
14.
Your eyes quickly adjust, and with a strong grab from Roddy upon your arm, you're pulled along one wall as Jean goes along the other way, and you're now able to see the room around you. Most of the doors are thankfully closed, but it seems that all of the odd-numbered doors are left open or otherwise jammed by cots that have been drug out in the brief moments that those doors were allowed to be open. Things shift in the strobing shadows of the light, but they do so in between the cells, quickly moving in and out of them. Every so often you begin to hear a scream come from inside one and the crunch of bone and flesh from within. These things are merely a distraction, though, and you do your best to see through the illusion as a vibration comes from the center of the room. Audrey, the system seems to be setting itself back up for you to either get the door unjammed or make your way back down into the pod to assist if you so choose. You will not be able to relock the odd number doors, but if you stay up, you may be able to keep the non-negative number doors, the positive number doors, from unlocking again.
I stay where I am and continue to keep those evens shut as best I can. And then while I'm doing that, I'm trying to find some sort of control for lights. see if I can give them that help.
You do your best to act under pressure, and evens was the word I was looking for. What'd you get? Did you get Spider?
9.
9. Awesome. As you gaze into the center of the room, you'll at first be slightly confused at what you see, as it appears one of the inmates is just standing there in the middle of the grate. It's not clear what room they came from, or if they'd just been standing there the whole time in the dark. But it's quickly made clear that their presence is only fuel for the fire as the watcher steps out from the shadow where it was hiding in front of the large desk on the other side of the room. 2 steps, and its left hand closes around the back of the inmate's head and presses the body down into the grate to slide it back and forth as though grating cheese. As the droplets fall into the pit below, there's a sizzle and a flare of flame which illuminates the room. After the screams of the inmate die away, there's a ripple beneath the skin of the watcher, and it seems to grow slightly larger. It looks up, and then directly at you and Roddy. I'll allow you to have first combat move.
I'm going to toss the frag grenade at the fucker.
Engage in combat. Audrey.
15.
Very nice. Now that you've kind of calmed down a bit, all of your extensive knowledge that you've gained from leading your own things and just kind of making sure you're self-reliant has allowed you to learn quickly this system. And you are able to find the light controls. How would you like to control the lights within, just as the watcher is turning to face Spider?
I think I'm going to turn the lights on try to do like a 30% level to like let my comrades, their eyes adjust, and then hit it to 100%, so that my hope is either something in this room or the watcher is resistant to light or doesn't like light, because it's going to be a blinding effect.
All right. And Spider.
Excuse me. It was an 18, and I misspoke. It was an incendiary grenade, not a frag.
Nice. That's gonna be a good time. So I am looking up damage since we are using actual combat rules here. Let's see if there is explosives on here. If not, I will assign a damage counter to it. Here we go. Very nice. So you throw the incendiary grenade just as the watcher turns to look at you, and it detonates just as it reaches the space between the two of you. The detonation of flame hits it directly in the flesh above its eye, and as it rears back to screech, you'll see that you've quite effectively blinded it for the time being. It'll lean upon its blade for a moment to kind of get its bearings, and then it'll adjust and charge towards you. I'll give you a chance to try and avoid harm, or you can try to endure the impact of the tackle. What'd you get?
Cuatro.
Okay. As he charges forward, you'll do your best to leap out of the way, but your back leg will be caught by its barreling shoulder, and you'll be spun around in the air and slammed onto the ground quite intensely thanks to gravity. You'll take 1 wound as the air is knocked out of you. Roddy will turn and open fire with his AR-15. The rounds seem to skip along the flesh of the Watcher's arm as it turns to face Roddy and then raises its blade as a shield and begins advancing upon the other team member. Audrey, you see this just as the lights go from 30% to 100% and seem to dazzle the drones as well. What this illuminates, though, are several creatures that seem to be moving in and out of the cells that are open and then also become blinded and squat down against the sudden burst of light. They appear to be mottled skin inmates. Their oranges quite tattered upon frail bodies. They seem greatly corrupted in some way, diseased and twisted, and in some kind of frenzy that causes them to rip and tear at each other. And if they cannot get to each other, they seem to be tearing at their own flesh. As they begin to blink and their eyes adjust, they seem to notice Jean below and begin making their way in a large group towards the lower floor.
You said the door is jammed into this pod?
You should have control of it back now, so you can choose to lock it if you want.
Yeah, I'm going to lock it.
Okay.
And then I'm going to slam the lights off again.
Okay. You roll plus coolness.
I can't tell what it is. It's got a dragon on it. I don't know if that's a 9 or a 0. Let's see. So coolness. All right. That looks like 9.
As you slam the lights back off, it seems to be more of a hindrance than an aid, as these creatures are much more affluent in the dark, and they pick up their pace, several of them climbing over the railing to drop down. Spider, as you attempt to get up, one of them lands crouched on top of you, mounted across your stomach. It begins to reach its dirty fingers towards your face to try and claw away your helmet.
I'm gonna level the AR and pull the trigger.
You do your best to engage in combat. Leveling your rifle and pulling the trigger manages to destroy the creature's spine through the front and send them tumbling back off of you. Luckily, they didn't manage to pull your helmet off more than a little bit, and you only suffered a small scratch on your chin. You're able to get your footing again, just as the Watcher seems to backhand Roddy halfway across the room to tumble across the grating. The short tumble seems to cut very deeply into the armor that he's wearing, once again symbolizing that may not be a place you want to get onto. Jean will engage with several of the creatures coming towards her. She'll manage to eliminate 2 with her AR, keeping them quite effectively back as she begins to circle the room. Audrey, having slammed the lights back off and hindered your team a little bit more, you've drawn the attention of the 2 drones inside. One of the drones, moving up to the window, begins to flash their strobe into the window until they can see you through the tinting, and then moves back and begins to ram themselves into the plating quite intensely, causing the glass to rattle. It's unclear how long the glass will withstand these blows.
That's just great. I look at the menu to try to see what else I can control from this vantage point.
As you roll to investigate for me. And in the meantime, what is the name of Gold Team's drone? Because I don't have the note for that. Let's see. No one may have the note for that,
don't
which is
think I-
okay.
I don't think I have a note on it. 13.
I had it down somewhere. Damn it.
I'll just call it gold drone and silver drone until I can name them again then. Audrey, what was it?
A 13.
13. What would you like to find? What would you like to control on this computer?
Trying to think what would be reasonable to be able to control for a pod like that. Let's see. I think like temperature. I mean, obviously the doors, obviously lights. I don't know if there'd be anything else that you really like.
Now it
thinking
is-
from a perspective.
It is a Windows computer, so it's not just only that software that you can run. And Gold Drone is in the room with you. Gold Drone is in the room with you. Silver Drone is outside of the pod waiting for the team to come back out, or if not, to take pictures when it's over.
Oh, okay. So, then let's think about this. Does it, I'm going to try to go to an email, a Gmail or something like that. Not endorsed by Gmail, but you could endorse this if you wanted to.
There is an email software that pulls up. We won't name brand it, so because they're not sponsors.
So email software, so like a preloaded email software, like whatever the guard's email was.
Mhm. Yeah, it's already logged in for that guard who was on duty there.
Mhm.
Most likely, it seems they were killed while actually using the software. Speaking of which, the drone is taking photos of that at the moment.
Oh, great. I'm going to look at their email and see if there's anything there that might give me a like lead on the situation period, like being here, seeing if there's something like, even if it's not something that can directly help with the fight, something that like, do I have a map? Do I have discourse between the guards about what the mission is, or some surprises or anything like that?
There is a new map that has been issued. This map warns against using the new room, which has appeared. Is that that's not 24th, is that 28th floor where the eye is? I believe that was 28th.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
The new email advises against going into the new room, which has appeared on the 28th floor, that you know to be the eye room. It also advises against engaging with the watcher when it is on guard duty. There's a new map that has been issued, and there's a downloadable file for that as well.
I'm going to download that map for sure.
And keeping in mind, since it's been a couple weeks, Silver Team did inform Audrey and Spider. I'm not one to usually give hints during play, but did inform Audrey and Spider that you are able to ask the drones for help, and they will help you if asked.
Okay.
They are tools as well as videographers.
I'm gonna download that map to hold on to, and just download it to the drone. Is that a possibility? Can I do that? Just say drone, download this.
Roll to influence other. If that's especially if that's how you're gonna say it. So you say drone, download this.
I'll say it like this. Hey, little buddy, you think you could download this map for me? Might be helpful.
That'd be great.
I'll take its pictures and then hover up to look at you as you ask it. Go ahead and roll.
I'm about to throw these dice in a pit. You said influence others. That's not too bad. 12.
All right. It'll kind of move its head as though looking you up and down, and then saying, yeah, all right, I can do that. But in kind of a way that like you've made some kind of bargain you are unaware of, as it floats over to the computer and releases a small thumb drive and plugs it in down in the map file. It displays the map on a hollow view in front of it as it's downloading, giving you a viewpoint, and then closes it out.
You like better than R2D2. It's awesome.
The warden paid good money for all of us drones. I'm
Well
quite
spent.
proud.
I click on the radio and say, this probably was a bad endeavor. Found that out. On top of that, they're telling the guards to avoid the room where the watcher's key goes. So this might have been a bad plan, guys.
Well, I mean, they certainly don't want the lackeys going wherever the portal goes. They kind of need them here.
Yeah, true. Yes, that could be true. I'm gonna keep seeing what I can do up here.
Cool.
As you radio them, let's see here. As you radio them, the drone at this point has shattered much of the glass's outer pane and begins to crack on its inner layer as well for the tower. After removing the thumbstick back out of the computer, Gold Drone will turn to look at this drone and then kind of just hover back into the air out of the way to see what's going to happen. Down below, having heard your radio go off, Spider, the Watcher, will turn back towards you. It will shift its shoulders and then raise its blade arm and quickly dash towards you as though to plunge it into you as you're standing up fully. What do you want to do here?
I'm going to jump out of the way and drop the flashbang behind me.
Go for it.
Am I avoiding harm or engaging in combat?
We'll say engage in combat.
$15.
Nice. You manage to jump out of the way just as the blade kind of sings over the top of you. And as the flashbang goes off with the noise and the sudden burst of light, it seems to disorient the Watcher, though it seems to be more the noise than anything due to your fire blinding it earlier. This noise seems to draw the attention of the strange creatures who had been focusing on Jean before, and now they turn to face you and the Watcher.
Of fucking course they are.
Two of them quickly run towards the Watcher and jump upon its shoulders, skittering and climbing up to grab onto it. As they do so and get into position, they dig their hands into the folds of flesh that are stitched together over the muscle and seem to wedge their hands into it, twitching his body and making it seem to grow stronger in the process. 3 others of the creatures begin to charge towards you. They're on all fours and clearly not blinded. You have first move.
I'm gonna expend some ammo.
Go for it.
Multiple target.
Mm-hmm. You can do one roll for each.
17 for one. 14 for the other.
You have one more.
$10 for the last.
Your first rounds managed to catch the creature coming towards you quite squarely in the triangle zone of its face, taking it down. Your next rounds bring down the other creature, though it manages to get closer, its claws nearly grabbing your boot. Though the last manages to tackle you forth against a wall before you're able to fully kill it. As it slides down your body, you see that the Watcher has regained its footing. It churns, stabbing its blade into the wall above your head. It seems intentional, however, as its other hand grips the power cord for the motor and pulls it down to run the motor. Audrey, As you hear the sound of the motor erupt below, the drone comes bursting through the small window and into the tower room where you are. This both allows a lot of sound and sudden light from the strobes below to enter the tower and disorient you for a moment, but also allows this drone to drop out 2 saw blades from below its belly and come towards you rapidly. What do you do?
Wow. I'm just getting a visual of that. I look incredibly frustrated, reach down and grab my Glock, and now that the window is broken and there's some how big is the window, first of all?
In my experience with pods, the windows are probably about 5 feet across and then like 4 or 5 feet tall. So it's a pretty big window.
Okay. So if I'm firing that direction, sound travel. I'm just trying to think about am I about to deafen myself?
Probably. I mean, it's still gonna have low back sound. So
I pull out the Glock, level it at the drone, and fire.
Engage in combat.
Oh.
Hmm?
14.
You fire at the drone and manage to catch it in its islands, for a moment blinding it and spitting it out. This causes its blades to slice through the screens of the control panel, and then it bumps into the other wall. It kind of levels itself out for a moment and then rises up, seeming to try and track you without its lens. It's unable to do so yet. You may act again.
It's hovering about how high off the ground?
Probably about 7 feet.
7 feet. That's pretty extensive. Yeah, I'm gonna I think I'm gonna try to shake off the ringing in my ears and fire at it again. I was gonna hit it with my crowbar, but I think that's a bit high to kind of reach.
The beauty of engaging in firefights is that the ringing doesn't matter in the moment. So you said you're going to try and fire again?
Yeah.
Go for it. It's going to try and do it.
That's a 10.
These low rolls I always have to go back and search for. This time the round catches it in the side panel and it kind of ducks down, no longer able to keep such a high hover. As it gets into this new position, it'll turn in the direction that your round came from and then barrel towards you. You have a moment to try and avoid harm before it impacts you and tries to drive you through the open window.
Yeah, I try to duck out of the way, just, do a whole crouching motion. 13.
You manage to duck in time that it only hits your shoulder. And though it tumbles you halfway out of the window, you manage to keep one leg and an arm in and restabilize yourself. The drone spins back out into the room below and slamming into the other wall seems to incapacitate itself for a moment. The strobing drone down below doesn't seem to notice what's going on up above. And Gold Drone will drift down to take a picture of you and let out a slow, well, that sucked.
What, were you hoping the drone would win?
It is in my job description.
Gotcha. I look down at where that drone landed and then assess where the other drone is. Then make an assessment of where the watcher is in regards to Spider and think for a moment. And then if I try to fire at this, it's going to be entirely too close to my friend. So potential shot to hit my friend.
Yeah. You observe the situation. Spider, This
Jeez.
close to the Watcher, you see how truly monstrous this creature is. An amalgamation of other people's skin over stitched together muscle. The digging hands of the strange inmate creatures attached to its shoulder seem to be becoming consumed by the Watcher itself, adding more and more to its size. You do your best to keep it together, as subconsciously the sight of this thing drives you closer to a madness you are not aware you could reach.
16.
You manage to focus yourself back in, gritting your teeth and clenching your jaw, readying yourself for the task at hand. The sound of the motor starting up above you kind of jars everything into stark relief. And it uses its blade to begin cutting the wall around you and then down towards your shoulders, as though meaning to sever you in two. You have a moment to react before it reaches your body.
Would drawing the silver blade and lunging forward to like a throat looking area on the Watcher count as act under pressure or engage in combat?
Do you have a higher violence or coolness score?
Coolness.
We'll say act under pressure in this situation, because you are trying to stop it from cutting you with its saw.
18.
You lunge forward with the silver blade, and as it plunges into the throat area, the creature lets out a gurgled groan, which shakes the floor beneath your feet and the wall behind you. Its hand unclenches from your chest and it falls backwards, ripping its motorized blade out of the wall. As your now stuck silver blade seems to be slowly eroding the muscle and skin around its wound. It reaches up to grasp the blade and, pulling it free, throws it where it embeds itself into one of the metal doors across the room. Audrey, this is what you see as the Watcher comes stumbling back from beneath part of the catwalk where it was holding on to Spider. You witness it pulling the silver blade out of its decomposing throat and lunge it into the darkness of the room. The drone that you have damaged sits on the catwalk exactly across from you. You can see it over the top of the other Watcher's head. And the drone, which still strobes, seems to be just following the creatures that have torn up the other inmates and trying to take appropriate photos for the warden within. Jean, who you haven't heard from this entire time, seems to have had a throw of bad luck with the other Watchers, and she cannot be seen beneath the pile of several who are on top of her, tearing into her flesh at the moment.
I'm going to yell a heads up and then throw a flashbang grenade near Jean to try to scare these things off of her.
You engage in combat.
I like these dice much better. 13. That's still kind of crummy.
The flashbang will go off, and blinding the creatures, they'll move back, though not very far, just enough to kind of circle around their prey. You can see that she still lives, though much of her armor and clothing has been ripped away, along with skin and muscle that's been ripped off by much of these creatures' hands and teeth. She raises her rifle and does her best to keep them away from her at this point. Spider. So engaged with the Watcher, your focus keenly on it, you are not affected by the flashbang, the light of which is behind its back anyway. It reaches up its hand to try and force closed the decomposing wound in its throat, but unable to, it instead grabs hold of one of the inmates on its shoulder and seems to stuff them inside of the wound quite violently. As they do their best to attempt to heal, you get 2 free movements. What do you do?
I'm running for the door and trying to grab out the knife. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, though.
Act under pressure.
14.
You manage to get to the door, only hesitating for a moment as you trip over one of the dead bodies of the inmates, or what seems to be dead anyways. Though as it reaches out, Roddy, who seems to have regrouped with you, quickly levels his rifle and eliminates the threat. He stacks up next to you by the door, and you begin to do your best to pull the weapon free. Let's roll plus violence to see if you can get it out.
9.
The strength of the Watcher seems too much, and you're unable to pull the weapon free of the metal door. It seems to be quite embedded inside of it. It may be worth looking at later on.
I'm going to... Yeah.
You have one move left.
Where am I again in relation to that guy, the dead TAC officer with the shotgun?
At this point, he's directly down from the wall that you're facing. So he's just at the other end of the wall.
I'm heading that way, grabbing that shotgun.
All right. You do your best to act under pressure. That's another movement. You manage to get over there, but in the meantime, it seems that the Watcher has healed themselves and has set their focus back on you and Roddy. Roddy gets into a prone position to try and get a better shot, as there's some distance between the Watcher themselves and you, as you gather the shotgun and the 8 shells along with it. It seems to be a 10 gauge. You hear a strange hum from the weird gap that the officer seems to be leaning against. Audrey, with Jean safe, you witness as Spider gets into their new position and gathers the shotgun. What you see from your vantage point is not an invisible gap, but a strange kind of cylindrical machine that rises about 5 feet off the ground. It seems covered in the same strange symbology that imprints the new appendage attached to your left elbow. You can see that there's also a very peculiar slot in the front of it, shaped like the claw end of that appendage. You don't see anything other than that, in addition to what Spider has witnessed.
So where is that in relation to the Watcher right now?
It is just across the room. So the Watcher is in the center of the room, facing the back desk area. Spider and Roddy are probably in the back right corner of that area. So the Watcher is in the middle of the room, facing there. So there's equal space between you and the Watcher and Spider.
Okay. I'm going to toss down an incendiary grenade to try to hit the Watcher with it.
Okay. Engage in combat. Spider, would you like to engage in combat at the same time?
Yeah, except I'm not going to shoot the Watcher. I'm going to shoot what's under that grate.
Okay. Engage in combat. Nice.
$14.
Twinsies.
9 and 5.
As you shoot the great Spider, it'll cause a malfunction in whatever that invisible machine is beside you. It will begin to spark and appear in your vision as well. Another one across the room behind the watcher will also appear and begin to spark. These same sparks from their damaged area of the floor will begin to spark up around the outside of the grating, and it'll begin to shift and then force itself open beneath the feet of the watcher. The incendiary grenade will impact it upon the shoulders, and though it distracts it for a moment, it will then ignite, causing both the inmates upon it to light up and cause lasting damage as it screeches as best as it can through its wounded throat, its flesh melting in a kind of amalgam into each other like wax on a candle. Yet it still lives and violently reaches up to peel the burnt flesh away from its covered eye, allowing it to see once more from its first wound. Its rage causes it to swell, and though it stumbles on the moving grate, it moves forward and revs the machine attached to its blade arm. Enraged, it'll gain +1 in addition to all of its combat rolls as it charges forward towards Roddy and Spider to bring up its blade in a sweeping arc. Spider. You're muted.
It was suddenly causing spaces in the chat. Where is the grate between me and the watcher?
Probably 50 yards ahead of you. The watcher at this point is stepping off of it to charge forward towards you, and it's opening wider behind it.
I'm firing into the grate again.
Okay. You do your best to engage in combat. Roddy will fire at the watcher in the meantime. And catch it in the shoulder with a few rounds. Okay. What do you got?
Deuces.
So, firing into the grate again causes another buzz, and though it seems to once more malfunction, it gets stuck into its halfway open position. A rumble from beneath it, as it seems to have some kind of phase unlock, causes a deeper malfunction, and you begin to see licks of flame come up from the center of this grate, reminding you very much so of the grating you had to get across for your most recent award from the Warden bobblehead. The Watcher itself, though shot in the shoulder by Roddy, will still have enough momentum to bring its weapon around, and the blade will slice deep into your upper shoulder. It embeds there for a moment, and then it revs the engine, sawing it first forward and then back to slice halfway into your bone before the blade is ripped free. Your arm is still intact, but heavily injured. You take 2 wounds. Audrey.
So I'm now seeing the flames coming up. And then I think, is the board still usable? Because I didn't check that. So I'm going to walk around to the board that I'd been using to control things and see if it's at all usable after its little run-in with a droid.
The control panel is still usable. There are just no monitors to look at to know.
I'm gonna look at the, is there any buttons that have a flame on them so I can turn this fire up?
There are no buttons that have a flame on them.
Fire buttons. I hate Windows 10. No, I'm just kidding. So I like curse and walk back around to the window, and so is the Watcher is on top of the grate?
The Watcher has moved off the grate. It's probably about 3 feet in front of it at this point.
And my friends are close to it. So how is Jean looking over there on her side, on their side?
Jean is good. Jean is surviving.
Okay.
She doesn't look able to move very well, but she is not being actively killed at the moment.
I'm gonna start
currently being murdered.
I'm gonna start screaming at the Watcher. Hey, you big piece of shit! Look up here! I'm up here! You can't even get me, can you? Bet you could try though. Come on, man! Like just trying to be like so like ridiculous and loud.
Influence other.
Oh, wait a minute. 19.
As you begin to yell at the Watcher, it'll stiffen up and turn to look back at you. Its 8-foot height is pretty close to that tower window. And its flaming shoulders make the heat quite close as well, as it raises its arm and then leaps, lunging forward with the blade towards you. You want to roll to avoid harm?
Avoid that harm? I guess I'm not going to avoid that harm. Hold on. Let me verify that soon. Yeah, 6.
Spider, would you like an action as the Watcher leaps towards the tower?
Yeah, I'd like to shoot the motherfucker. So does the -1 ongoing from wounds stack, or is that just for having wounds?
That should be just for having wounds. So as long as you have the wounds, you'll have that -1.
Then just one. Okay, cool. I'm not completely useless. I figure even if I don't wound it too grievously, I can at least like knock it off its trajectory a little bit.
Go for it.
Kind of like what we are probably going to try to do with the whole meteorite thing heading our way. 8.
8. I'll let Roddy fire too. Okay. So as the Watcher leaps towards the tower, using its newfound strength and size to kind of easily gain the momentum to clear the distance, Audrey, several rounds from Spider's rifle as well as Roddy's rifle will come skipping across the ground and embed themselves in the wall on either side of you as they try to shoot at the Watchers mid-leap. And then you'll feel a sudden punch to your gut and almost like a pop, like a water balloon being sliced through. As the 3-foot tip of the Watcher's blade slices through your belly just below your diaphragm and severs out beside your spine on the other side. The Watcher doesn't quite make the jump, and as it slips back, it does its best to catch on and hold itself on the tower window, pulling you down to your knees as the tip of the blade holds inside of you, and using you as leverage tries to pull itself inside, angered by your taunting. You still live.
Got its attention.
Oh, you ugly mug. You did just what I wanted you to do. And I'm going to put my Glock get between its eyes, since I'm now like right there with it, and fire.
Engage in combat.
This works. Come on, guys. Don't fail me now. Okay. All right. 13.
Spider, would you like to do anything?
I'm gonna get the blade out of the wall. Guns don't seem to be doing a goddamn thing.
As you go to pull the blade out of the wall, And Audrey levels her sidearm and says her epic one-liner. She'll fire her round, and surprisingly, the Watcher's malformed head, will snap back. It'll move forward again and furrow its hairless brow as though looking at you questioningly. And slowly, black brain matter will start to ooze out of the hole. It'll begin to slide backwards. And just as the very end of the blade is wedged inside of your inside, it'll swipe up with one final swipe as it falls backwards out of the tower. This opens you quite smoothly from diaphragm to the tip of your forehead, like a book being unfolded. And the last thing you see is the Watcher as it falls halfway into the grate, which no longer malfunctions and seems to whir and close itself as it screams, crushing the Watcher down inside and breaking the blade cleanly in two, so that when the grate closes and the blade lands, the ruby rests in the center, ready to be picked up by the dream team.
Dun, 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 dun.
Gold Drone flashes its pictures as the body of Audrey Kemp falls forward and out of the tower to land upon the catwalk on the second floor. It then floats down, looks at the silver drone, who beeps at it. It beeps back, and then they go to hover by Roddy, Spider, and Jean. Roll plus violence to pull the blade out of the door.
Wait, how there? I 10.
The blade remains stuck, and Roddy, lifting Jean onto his shoulders in a fireman's carry so that he can strap her rifle across him as well, will look to you. Come on, let's get the fuck out of here. We got a portal to open up.
Yeah, grab the ruby and get the fuck out.
As you walk out, Roddy will give one last look up to the catwalk. His cracked motorcycle helmet will become stained as the first blood drips from Audrey Kemp's left body through the grating. He'll shift his head and remove the helmet, tossing it to the ground and following Spider out. It'll go dark there for Spider and the Dream Team. Assumedly, they make their way back to the portal, and that's where we will join them, where it opens next week. But for tonight, we join Audrey Kemp once more. Audrey, you're awoken by a familiar sound. The soft rattling of metal of a subway car around you. It is a slow, groggy wake, or slow grogginess that you wake out of, and your body aches from it. Strangely, in your guts and up to your head, where you have this splitting headache like nothing you've ever felt. Your memory is foggy, but as your vision clears, you find that you may be right where you thought you should be. You sit upon the back seat of an old subway car. Its seats dingy, rusted, and old. Others sit in this dimly lit car with you. They seem pallid, sickly almost, dressed in varying degrees of finery, but quite ignorant of each other's presence. Flashes of where you just were go through your mind, but they seem distant and unimportant. As through the window, the flashes of the underground subway tunnel light by. You're in the familiar uniform of the group you once led. The new prosthetic gained during the game still adorns your arm, but now clearly in sight. And the silver crescent, the last item gained before your death, rests across your lap, right squarely. What do you do?
I lean over to the nearest person and say, "Where's the train going?"
They'll slowly turn. Oh, sorry, chat opened itself for no reason. They'll slowly turn to look upon you, furrowing their brow. The train goes where it's always gone, to the beginning of the way down. I take it your trip was not planned.
No.
That's okay.
It should have been, but it wasn't. It's the pressure down here weird. I've got this headache. I can't seem to just pushing behind my eyes, or maybe pushing them apart.
That will fade with time, and the further down you go. I don't suggest making a habit of talking to us, though. It may not be to your benefit to know the thoughts of the others who dwell below. Roll to observe the situation.
I'm not very observant, evidently. 4.
The woman you're speaking to seems oddly familiar, though her dress is different than the time you spoke with her. The scarring upon her face seems less severe, but there's a new soft dimple impression upon her forehead, as though something impacted and went through her skull there. Maybe that's what makes it so hard to understand who she is. If you plan to get off the train, I think you have to go to the front car, the one with the eye on the lens. She'll turn to look at the entrance at the other end of the car, and then lower her head once more, seemingly done with the conversation.
I get up and start moving towards the front, clenched in my normal hand, in my non-prosthetic hand, let me say it that way, is the blade.
As you begin to make your way through the train, those you pass are more familiar to you, those you once led, who gave all in your name. But their purpose here is unclear, and the voice which guides you does not give you more information as to why they are here. Only that they are here for you, that it assures you of, and that the things you will see now are the things that have been promised to you this whole time. That in your service, now you will, that in lieu of your service, you will now receive your just rewards. Reaching the train car door, you will see the same imprint of the eye as the portal, which now burns into your memory, the only thing truly clear from the warden's strange prison. You think of the events that led you here, and as you reach out to open this door, you are stabilized in your sense that this is the path that the voice meant at the beginning, that it would never lead you astray. And as the door opens, you find that those in this car are set in ways familiar to you, uniformed, ready to listen and to follow. And that's where we'll close for Audrey. That's where we'll close in general, because we're going to open up with a portal next time. So, thank you all for listening. I know that most of it was spent on combat, which ended up being an intense boss fight there. I was hoping no one would die, but now we got to set stuff up for next time. So, hopefully that will work out well. Let me get a hold of Ray. Like I said, I hope you all enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to support us and help us to make the show better, please consider supporting us on Patreon. The lowest tier is $1. We have several great things that we offer our tier listeners. Also, check out Marlo and the podcast that she runs. Also, keep an eye on Nico, see what they're going to be bringing out in the near future. I know they have some great things planned for that. Other than that, please join us on Friday for Beyond the Nightmare. We'll have a movie, I'm sure. So that'll be tomorrow. So have a good night, everyone. Bye. Mm-hmm.